My name is Thalassa Ray, and I'm 30 years old. On paper, I look like I made it in life. I work in technology in a job that sounds boring at parties, but it pays me on time every single month. I don't drive a fancy, shiny car. I don't live in a tall apartment or a penthouse with a view of the city. But my rent is always paid. I have a savings account, and I can help my family when they need money. I can buy groceries, pay bills, and sometimes even give a little extra. But before I continue, hit the subscribe button and tell me where are you watching this from, and what time of day is it? The problem is, somewhere along the way, helping stopped being something nice. It stopped feeling like kindness. It started to feel like something I had to do, whether I wanted to or not. I didn't notice it at first, but over time, it became a heavy weight on my shoulders. We didn't grow up rich. None of us did. Not me. Not my little sister, Celia. Not our parents. We grew up in a tiny house, a house so small that you could hear everything from every room. The air always smelled like laundry soap and overcooked rice. Birthdays were simple. Dollar store balloons and a sheet cake on the kitchen table. Vacations were something other people posted pictures of on social media. We didn't have vacations like that. I don't know exactly when my family decided they suddenly deserved nice things. Maybe it was after I got my first big job after college. I went from working long, tiring retail shifts to sitting in a tech office. There was free coffee in the break room, air conditioning in the summer, heat in the winter, and health insurance. Things I didn't even know I could have. When I started working there, my mom's eyes changed. So did Celia's. At first, the tasks were small. Thalassa, can you cover the groceries this week? Your dad's hours got cut. Thalassa, we're a little short on the electric bill. Every time I said yes. It felt good. It felt like I was finally giving something back for all the years they had sacrificed for me. I told myself I was just helping in a small way. Then the task got bigger. One night, my dad called and said, "Your mom's washing machine is dying." I found a good set on sale, and before I knew it, I had sent the money. I told myself this was only temporary. They were just going through a rough patch. If I kept helping, eventually they would stabilize. They would get back on their feet. They would appreciate what I was doing. But they didn't stabilize. The tasks didn't stop, they changed shape. It wasn't just bills or appliances anymore. It was bigger. Why aren't you contributing more? You have such a good job. You're single. Why do you need all that space? That last one came after Celia moved back into our parents' house with her second child. Suddenly, their 3-bedroom house felt microscopic. Suddenly, every phone call was about how Celia's kids needed their own rooms. How unfair it was that I had an apartment all to myself. I'd stand in my kitchen after a 10-hour day, exhausted from work and the crowded train, listening to my mom sigh on the phone. "Thalassa, you know your sister is struggling. We're all doing our best, but there's only so much we can do here." What she didn't say out loud, but what hung in the air like a storm cloud was, "You should buy them a house." My boyfriend, Arinder, saw it before I did. We'd be on the couch together, some show playing quietly in the background, my phone buzzing constantly with texts and calls. "You okay?" he'd ask. "Yeah," I'd lie. "It's just my mom or Celia." "That's like the third call this week," he said gently. "You don't have to fix everything for them, you know." I'd shrug because what else could I do? They were my family. And when you grow up being told family is everything, it's really, really hard to admit they might be the ones hurting you instead of helping you. The guilt worked. It always did. After months of pressure and late-night conversations that ended with me staring at my banking app and feeling sick, I did it. I bought them a house. It wasn't a mansion. I couldn't afford a mansion. It was a small, clean place in a quiet neighborhood at the edge of town. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a tiny yard with patchy grass, and a single garage. It was a new build, empty and unfurnished, but with enough charm that I could picture Celia's kids learning to ride their bikes on the sidewalk. Maybe a small plastic kiddie pool in the summer. Maybe birthday parties on the little lawn, laughing in the sun. I signed the papers. I spent most of my savings on the deposit. I booked catering for a welcome party. I had the house cleaned, brought in new appliances, and put a personalized welcome mat by the front door with Celia's last name printed in cursive. I did all of this in secret. In my head, it was perfect. It was like a movie. I'd drive them to the house. I'd tell them I had a surprise. They'd roll their eyes at first, but then I'd hand Celia the keys. She'd cry. My mom would hug me and call me a miracle. The kids would run from room to room, shouting and laughing, claiming their new spaces. But that's not what happened. On move-in day, I picked them up in my car. Celia strapped the kids into the back seat, while scrolling on her phone. My mom complained about traffic. We pulled up to the house, sunlight shining on the new windows, the grass a little greener than I remembered. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I might be sick. Celia stared at the house through the window for a full 3 seconds before speaking. "This is the temporary spot?" she asked flatly. "No," I said, forcing a smile. "This is your own place. Your own house." She laughed. Not a happy laugh, a mocking laugh. "This place is too small for a proper family," she said, stepping out to inspect everything, like she was checking a motel. My mom climbed out after her, squinting at the single garage and narrow driveway. "Maybe next time book a mansion," she said, joking but not really. I don't remember what I said after that. I know I told them there were 3 bedrooms. I know I pointed out the new appliances. I know I said, "I wanted you to have a fresh start." But it didn't matter. It landed on concrete. Celia didn't go inside. My mom didn't ask about the neighborhood. They looked one more time, climbed back into the car, and went home. No thank you. No hug. Just back to the tiny house they had complained about for months. That night, I sat alone in the empty living room of the house I had just bought for people who wouldn't live in it. The catering trays were still in the kitchen, untouched. The flowers slowly wilted on the counter. The welcome mat with Celia's last name stared at me from the front door like it was accusing me. I had never felt so stupid in my life. The next morning, my eyes gritty from no sleep, I called the Soren. What would it take to sell it again? I asked. She was quiet for a moment. "Already," she said. "Thalassa, you'll lose money if you sell this fast." "I know," I said. "List it." I did lose money. Almost 10% of the house's value disappeared just like that. But I couldn't keep it. I couldn't drive past it without hearing my sister's laugh in my head. I thought that would be the end. It wasn't. 3 days later, my phone rang while I was at my desk. It was my old neighbor, the woman who lived across from the house. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something in my chest told me to answer. "Thalassa, I didn't want to bother you," she said. "But did you rent the house yet?" "No," I said slowly. "Why?" "There are a lot of people outside. Cars are everywhere. Balloons. Looks like a party or something." For a moment, I thought she was confused. Then my stomach dropped. "I'll be there in 20 minutes, I said. When I arrived, my first thought was wedding. There were women in dresses, men and kids running around with plastic cups. Balloons bobbed in the breeze. Gift bags sat on folding tables next to trays of food. And there, near the front door of the house I had just relisted, stood my parents. Celia was in full hostess mode, laughing, hugging relatives, pointing to the house like she was about to cut a ribbon. My dad lingered behind them, looking like he wanted to disappear. The door was still closed. The lockbox was still on the knob. They didn't have a key. One of the guests turned to Celia. "So, when do we go in? I want to see the kitchen." Celia glanced at me. Our eyes met. Her smile flickered. She walked straight toward me, heels crunching on the gravel. "You didn't cancel the party," she hissed quietly. "I did," I said. 3 days ago when you walked away. "You said of course," she snapped. "You said it with a smile." I took a deep breath, heat rising under my skin. "You said the house was too small for a real family," I reminded her. "You left." Celia blinked as if she had forgotten those words. "That was before I told everyone," she said. "They think this is our house now. What do you want me to do? Tell them we're homeless?" I didn't answer. I simply stepped aside and gestured toward the for sale sign in the yard. The guests started to notice. A murmur ran through the crowd. "Is this some kind of joke?" someone asked. "Did they move the party?" another whispered. Celia's face flushed bright red. She spun back toward the crowd. "There was a miscommunication with the Soren," she announced loudly. "The dates got mixed up. The house isn't move-in ready yet, but it's ours. We'll invite you all back for the real celebration soon." Then she leaned in close to me, her voice dropping to a mean whisper. "You'd better fix this." For the first time in my life, I didn't apologize. "I can't fix a lie you chose to tell," I said. I turned and walked away, leaving her standing in front of a house she had rejected, surrounded by guests who suddenly weren't sure what story they were supposed to believe. On the drive home, I told myself that this embarrassment would be enough. Maybe Celia would calm down. Maybe my mom would talk some sense into her. Maybe this whole nightmare would fade. I should have known better because the next day my doorbell rang. I froze for a moment, my hand hovering over the handle. Who could it be now? When I opened the door, there was Celia, standing with that same confident, almost angry look I had learned to recognize. She wasn't alone. My mom stood beside her, arms crossed tightly, like she was holding back a storm. My dad lingered a few steps back, already looking tired and worn out. He looked like he had been dragged into something he didn't want to be part of. They didn't come to say sorry. That much was clear immediately. They didn't come to apologize. They came for answers. They came expecting me to give explanations and apologies instead. "Why would you put the house up for sale?" my mom demanded, her voice sharp. "Why would you embarrass us like that in front of the whole family?" Celia stepped forward, her voice rising. "You should have told us first." "I already told everyone it was ours." I took a shaky breath, trying to keep my voice calm. "I bought that house as a gift," I said slowly, trying to make them understand. "You called it too small and drove away. I'm not your ATM anymore. If you didn't want it, that's on you. I'm not going to keep pretending everything is fine when it's not." Celia's jaw clenched, and I could see the anger flash in her eyes. "I posted pictures," she snapped. "My friend saw them. My boyfriend's family is supposed to visit next week. I can't just tell everyone it was a mistake." And then I understood. It wasn't just about a house. It had never been about a house. It was about image. About pride. About the story Celia wanted to tell the world. The story where she was the one with a new home, a fresh start, a life that looked perfect, and I was just the invisible wallet in the background. They left without agreeing on anything. My mom muttered under her breath that I had changed. Celia stormed down the hallway as if she owned the place. I thought, maybe foolishly, that this really was the last fight. Maybe the drama had ended. But that night, my phone lit up with a group text sent to our entire extended family. "Hey everyone," Celia wrote. "Sorry again about the confusion with the house. All sorted now. The Soarin' confirmed closing this week. Celebration next Saturday. Same place. Can't wait to show you our new home." I stared at the screen, the words blurring as if my eyes refused to believe them. They were still pretending the house was theirs. They were doubling down. They were about to throw another party for a house that was still for sale. I read Celia's group text 3 times, waiting for my brain to make sense of it, to correct it into something sane. "Our new home," I whispered to myself. The same house she had refused to even step into. The house I had already relisted with the Soarin'. I didn't reply. No one else did either, at least not in the group chat. But I could imagine the private messages flying between cousins, rearranging schedules, aunts planning what to wear, Celia's boyfriend bragging to his family about their new home. Part of me wanted to pick up the phone and scream. Another part of me was just too tired. Deep, bone-deep tired. The next morning I called the Soarin'. "I need to warn you about something," I said, my voice low but urgent. I told her everything. The first party, the lies, the group text, the plan to invite the whole family again for a celebration. On the other end of the line, she sighed. "I've seen stranger things," she said. "Do you want me to postpone the showings this week?" I looked out my apartment window at the gray sky above the city, pretending to be calm. "No," I said. "Don't cancel anything. Just be careful." "Understood," she said quietly. All week, the date of the party sat in my mind like a bruise that wouldn't heal. Arinder noticed. "You've been quiet," he said one night as we ate takeout on my couch. "Is it the house?" he asked softly. "Celia scheduled another party," I said, my voice small. "She told everyone the closing is confirmed." "But it's not," he said, his eyes widening. "I know," I said. He watched me for a long moment, then set down his chopsticks. "Thalassa, this isn't normal," he said softly. "This isn't just messy family stuff. This is lying. This is manipulation. They are using your generosity as the stage for their drama." I swallowed a bitter laugh. "You make it sound like a play." "It is a play," he said. "They've written a whole script where you're the villain if you don't play along." I looked at him. "What would you do?" He hesitated. "I'd walk away. Or I'd let them hit the wall they're running toward. But it's harder when the people causing the damage share your DNA." Saturday came anyway. By 4 p.m., my phone buzzed with weather alerts and spam emails, but not a single message from my family. No directions. No updates. Just silence. Like they had decided I didn't need to be part of their show. I drove over anyway. When I turned onto the familiar street, my chest tightened. Cars were parked all along both sides. Balloons bobbed at the curb. Folding tables sagged under store-bought food and gas station desserts. A cooler sat open, ice melting around soda cans. It looked like a budget version of the first party, cheaper and quieter, but still pretending. The house should have been locked, dark, and empty. It wasn't. The front door was wide open. Music drifted out, muffled by walls that still technically belonged to me. People walked barefoot across the brand new floors, red cups in hand, kids running up and down the stairs. For a moment, I just sat in my car, fingers gripping the steering wheel. Did they pick the lock? Climb through a window? Sweet-talk the agent? I didn't know. What I did know was that they were trespassing in a house I owned, pretending it was theirs. I parked across the street. My heart pounded so loudly it made my vision blur. Another car pulled up behind mine. It was familiar in a way that made my stomach drop, the Soren. She got out, eyes widening as she took in the scene. Balloons, bare feet on hardwood floors, music echoing from an open door. Please tell me you gave them permission, she said quietly. I didn't, I said. She exhaled, jaw tightening. Then we have a problem. We walked up together. The closer we got, the quieter it became. Conversations trailed off. People turned to stare. A little girl stopped mid-giggle on the stairs, eyes wide. Celia was halfway up those same stairs, pointing out bedrooms to a cousin like she was leading a real estate tour. My mother stood in the kitchen, rearranging cookies on a tray, as if she owned the place, like the last few weeks had never happened. When they saw the Soren, they froze. Who gave you access to this home? The Soren asked, voice sharp but controlled. Celia didn't even hesitate. This is our house, she said. We just haven't gotten the new keys yet. Thalassa can confirm. Dozens of eyes turned to me, waiting. I felt something click inside my chest. A small, clean break, a point of no return. I can't confirm that, I said calmly, because it's not true. Silence fell like a curtain. The Soren didn't argue with Celia. She didn't raise her voice. She simply pulled out her phone and dialed. Hi, this is my name, she said. I'm the listing agent for a property on Yes, that one. There are unauthorized individuals inside. Trespassers. I'm concerned about potential damage and liability. My mom started whispering in Spanish under her breath. It was the kind of frantic prayer that sounded more like bargaining than faith. Celia stormed over, fingers digging into my arm. What are you doing? She hissed. You're ruining everything. I already told everyone this was our house. You're being petty. You broke into a house that isn't yours. That's not pettiness, Celia, I said. That's a crime. Her eyes flashed. So what? You wanted to sell it out from under us. You embarrassed me. You humiliated our family. This is your fault. Somewhere in the distance, I heard sirens. I pulled my arm free. I'm done, I said. I'm not covering for you. Not anymore. I walked out of the house I'd bought and that they'd invaded, stepped past the for sale sign, and didn't look back. 5 minutes later, 2 police cruisers turned onto the street. For a second, I thought about staying, watching the fallout, seeing the fantasy finally crumble in real time. But something in me was too tired. I drove home instead. For the next 2 days, my phone was silent. No calls, no texts, no dramatic posts tagged with my name. Just nothing. It was almost peaceful. I went to work. I ate dinner with Arinder. I watched trash TV and pretended my family wasn't in a slow-moving car crash. By Monday morning, I almost believed the worst was over. That illusion lasted until I opened my work email. The subject line hit me like a punch. Urgent compliance review. Immediate response required. My throat went dry. The email was from our HR director. Short, formal, cold. An anonymous tip had accused me of misusing company funds to buy multiple properties for personal gain and possibly laundering money through family real estate. I read it once, then again, then a third time. The words still didn't make sense, but the meaning did. I work in a field where numbers and trust are everything. Where even a hint of financial misconduct can stain you forever. My job isn't just a job. It's built on the assumption that I'm honest. And someone had sent a message to the people in charge, planting a bomb right under that assumption. I sat frozen at my desk, fingertips numb, the office around me blurring into background noise. Thalassa. My manager's voice came from the doorway. You got the email? I nodded, unable to speak. We'll need all documentation on your recent property purchase, he said gently. Personal accounts too. It's standard procedure. I'm sure it's nothing, but compliance has to be thorough. You understand? I understood. Someone with access to just enough details to make the lie sound plausible, had decided to try to destroy me. HR meetings, calls with internal auditors, requests for bank statements, closing documents, emails with the Soren. For 3 days, my life was reduced to PDFs and paper trails. I left work late every night, my head pounding, my stomach in knots. Arinder offered to come over, to cook, to just sit with me, but I mostly stared at my laptop, pulling files into a folder that felt like a confession. The investigation eventually cleared me. Of course it did. The house had been paid from my personal savings. No company money. No shady transfers. Nothing illegal. But innocence doesn't undo suspicion. I was pulled off the biggest project I had been leading. My manager suggested I keep a low profile for a while. Promotions that had felt close suddenly felt distant, like stars I had imagined but could never reach. "You know this is bullshit," Irinder said one night, pacing my living room. "They know it too. Knowing doesn't change the fact that someone sent that tip," I said. "And it doesn't change where it landed." He stopped, face tight. "You think it was Celia?" "I don't have proof," I said. "But who else knows enough to mention family real estate and multiple properties? Who else knows what I do for a living and how dangerous a rumor like that would be?" I didn't need him to answer. We both knew. That night, I made a new folder on my laptop and gave it a name I never thought I would need with my own family. I called it self-defense. I put everything I had into it. Messages from Celia, group chats where she said the house was hers, pictures of parties in front of the house sign, emails from work, my replies, the report from the investigation, everything. I thought this would be the worst part. I thought it would be the part that made me feel most afraid. But I was wrong. Then the real estate agent called again. "Thalassa," she said, her voice shaky. "I'm at home. Someone has been here. The house has been vandalized." I didn't ask her to say more. I already felt my stomach drop. When I got there, spray paint had been splashed all over the garage door. Ugly words were written all over. A window was broken, and sunlight made it sparkle in a scary way. Trash was all over the front porch. The sign for the house was broken in half and thrown on the grass. "There's also a note on the front door," the agent said. "I'm sending you a picture." My phone buzzed a second later. On a ripped piece of paper, written in shaky handwriting, it said, "Hope your empty little house keeps you warm. You deserve it." 3 days later, a plain envelope came to my mailbox. There was no return address, no stamp, and just my name written on it. Inside was one sheet of paper. It said, "You've done enough. Fix what you broke or you'll regret it." Behind the paper, there was a photo. It was me, standing outside my office, taken from across the street. I didn't know anyone was there. I was just looking at the doors. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I had no idea someone was watching me. Until that moment, everything felt like a mean game, a messy family problem. But the photo changed everything. It meant someone had been following me, watching me, taking the mess from the house and the group chats and bringing it into the place where I worked, the place I always felt safe. For the first time, I felt something colder than anger. I felt fear. The picture scared me, not because of what it showed, but because of what it meant. Someone had stood across the street from my work, my safe place. They waited for me to leave, lifted a phone, and took a picture without me knowing. They sent it to my house. Someone who knew where I worked and was obsessed enough to do this. It wasn't desperation anymore. It wasn't embarrassment or pride. It was controlled. And control is what desperate people try last. I didn't tell Irinder at first. Not my coworkers either. I thought about sending the photo to HR and saying, "See, this is dangerous." But I didn't. Instead, I did what fear told me to do. I made my life safer. I changed all my locks. I put in cameras. I stopped walking home alone. I deleted old passwords and made new ones. I parked closer to work. I stopped running errands at night. I even closed my blinds during the day so no one could look inside. Irinder noticed right away. "You're different," he said one night on the couch. "Please talk to me. I don't want you to go through this alone." I wanted to tell him everything, but shame made me quiet. "It's fine," I lied. "I'm just tired." He didn't believe me. I think deep down he already knew the truth. My family wasn't done. And the universe proved it 2 days later. The real estate agent called again. "Thalassa, you won't believe this," she said. By now, I felt numb. My body didn't feel like mine anymore. "What happened?" I asked. "We got a full cash offer on the house." "Over asking, no inspection, no questions," she said. I looked at the documents. The buyer was a shell company. And the agent? Celia. For a second, I forgot how to breathe. Celia didn't have money. Her boyfriend didn't have that kind of money. Their jobs barely paid for their own rent. Someone else must have been giving them the money. It wasn't about living in the house. It was about winning. About proving she was right. About showing everyone she wasn't wrong. Celia wasn't trying to get the house. She was trying to beat me. She would lie, fake papers, do anything to not look stupid in front of friends and social media. I hung up and drove straight to my parents' house. When my mom opened the door, She crossed her arms like she was tired of dealing with someone else's problems. My dad sat in his chair, tired, watching the TV. "Where's Celia?" I asked. "Working," my mom snapped. "Of course she is," I said. "Tell me the truth. What is she doing with the house?" My dad sighed. "She's been telling people you stole it just to be mean. That you're selling it to strangers to hurt her." I looked at him. My mom didn't say anything. "She already showed her boyfriend's family pictures," my mom added. "She said you were being dramatic and that she deserved the house more than you did." "And you believe that?" I asked, my voice shaking. Silence. Then my dad spoke quietly. "I told her this would end badly. She doesn't listen. She hasn't listened in years." I left feeling both lighter and heavier. Lighter because I finally knew the truth. Heavier because the truth hurt. My family never wanted my help. They wanted me to do what they said. All the kindness I gave them, they saw as a duty. It wasn't about love. It was about control. On the way home, I stopped at my storage unit. Inside were 10 years of my life, boxes, receipts, letters, birthday cards with IOUs, even a note where Celia admitted she owed me $1,000 for a car she never paid for. Evidence. I took everything. I needed it for protection. The next morning I called a lawyer. He listened carefully, took notes. He wasn't shocked at the break-in, the vandalism, or the HR complaint. When I finished, he leaned back and said one sentence I'll never forget. "You have leverage." "Leverage?" I asked, my voice shaky. "Not criminal charges, not yet," he said. "But civil pressure. Enough to make them stop. Enough to make them think twice before doing anything else." We wrote a cease and desist letter. It was strong. It listed Celia's fake claims to the house, the false HR complaint, the break-in, the vandalism, the threatening note, the shell company offer, and the people connected to her boyfriend and my work. The letter didn't accuse. It just said, "If this keeps happening, we will go after civil action for more than $25,000 plus interest, legal fees, and repayment of all debts." That morning, the letter was sent. By evening, my phone buzzed. An unknown number texted. "You made your point. I'm done. Happy now." No name. I didn't need one. 2 hours later, the Soren called. The buyer backed out. "No explanation," she said. I thanked her. I didn't ask questions. I didn't need to. In the weeks that followed, life became quiet. Too quiet. No group texts. No accusations. No break-ins. No threats. Celia vanished. My mom stayed silent. My dad sent one Christmas card, with only his name. Eventually, the house sold to a quiet couple. No parties. No fake celebrations. Just a normal, peaceful sale. After that, I never went back to that street. Not because I was scared, but because I was free. I learned something important. Real revenge isn't loud. It isn't screaming or exposing someone. Real revenge is silence. It's refusing to play the game. It's walking away from the stage they drag you onto. It's protecting your peace. Some people never deserve your kindness. I lost money, time, and people I thought would always be there. But I gained clarity. I sleep without checking locks twice. I walk to my car without looking over my shoulder. I'm working on a new project at my job, a special project for people who are trusted again. And most importantly, I stopped apologizing for no longer burning myself to keep others warm. Some people see kindness as weakness. When you stop giving, you become the villain in their story. But villains sleep better than martyrs. For the first time in years, I am sleeping.